The president's set to make a controversial trip to Saudi Arabia next month. He will be asking leaders there to ramp up their oil production to help ease soaring gas prices here at home. But French President Macron with some bad news at the G7 summit for the president before being cut off by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt you. The commission to call MBZ told me, according to us, that the Saudis can increase a little bit, but 150 or a little bit more, and they don't have huge capacities.
Here, maybe we should just step aside.
Okay.
Earlier this morning, a reporter pressed Sullivan on that very exchange.
Does that change the president's thinking at all going into his trip next month?
I'm not going to characterize President Macron's comments or, either the content of them or this particular notion about Saudi Arabia and its spare capacity.
All right, the U.S. Emergency oil reserves has hit its lowest level now since 1986, just under 500 million barrels. The Department of Energy says 6.9 million barrels were released just last week. Our power panel is here now. Matt Gorman, former NRCC Communications Director, David Carlucci, former Democratic New York State Senator. Thanks to both of you for joining us here. All right, Matt, I'll start with you first. I have watched that video several times, and I'm trying to figure out what happened there because everybody had to know the cameras were rolling, the microphones were on, and Macron was definitely sending a message to President Biden. You're not going to get the amount of oil you want from the Middle East. So I don't know if the message was get it from somewhere else or start producing more back at home in the United States.
Yeah, this was all preventable. If you remember, one of the first things Biden did when he took office was cancel the Keystone Pipeline, cancel drilling in Anwar, and on May 1st, he just canceled some oil and gas leases in the Gulf of Mexico and Alaska. It's just a hallmark, right? They ignore warnings, they think they know best, and then they scramble when it's too late. And to your point on the SPR, they're depleting the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, yet it's not enough to have a meaningful impact on gas prices. They're just scrambling and very desperate right now.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, Jake Sullivan pulling the president away from Macron, saying, careful, maybe we should just step aside because of the cameras. Because, David, that would not be a good look that the president's plan, his big plan to bring down prices is to go to the Middle East, ask for more oil, and Macron saying they don't have what you need.
The president has limited resources and tools when it comes to the price of gas, and he's used the tools in his toolbox. He's worked to unclog the ports in New York or around the country, and he's also asked Congress to give a suspension on the gas tax. But most importantly, he's done this purposely to release 1 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And that's put us in a position to really help out our allies around the country. And that's what economists are saying. He's done what
you're
he
losing
can
me
do.
here.
There's a
our
lot that we can
around
point
the
our
country,
fingers.
I'm not sure what you're talking about there. The point.
Our allies around the world. I'm sorry about that.
We're not in a position to help our allies around the world with oil because we're at a situation where we're paying record high oil and gasoline prices. And it seems, Matt, that the continued messaging from this White House is this is Putin's price hike. I'm doing extensive reporting this morning that shows that Russia's exports are higher than they were pre-war now. Russia's selling more oil now than it was before this ever began. China's buying it. India's buying it. It's not like that oil came off of the world stage. So what are we going to do to bring prices down here at home? That's what Americans want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is elect some Republicans.
Well, that's exactly what President Biden's working on.
Yeah, to Matt.
No, I think the first thing is electing some Republicans. But to your point also, it's not just Putin they're blaming. They're blaming the oil companies. I mean, even last week he blamed individual gas station owners. And you're right, we shouldn't be sending oil to our allies around the world. How about sending it to our citizens here at home? We need to really bring down the cost of oil. And these sorts of gimmicks or blame games isn't going to do the job.
By the way, I've got word for you, David. We don't put oil into our gas tanks. I always say we put gasoline into our gas tanks. And right now we have a refining capacity problem in this country as well that I don't see being addressed by this administration. We'll move on. The shove seen around the world, viral video showing Speaker Pelosi giving an elbow to the daughter of Congresswoman Mayra Flores' daughter. And it happened at Flores' swearing-in ceremony last week. A lot of people talking about that shove. A spokesperson for Speaker Pelosi finally responding yesterday after loads of backlash, saying, quote, "It's sad to see news outlets that know better misrepresent the Speaker's effort to ensure Rep. Flores' daughters wouldn't be behind or hidden behind her in all of the photos." Congresswoman Flores had a much different take. Listen.
I was very disappointed and very disgusted by it. No child should be pushed to the side for a photo. But my message to Nancy Pelosi is that we're going to push her in November.
Okay, so I think we are all in agreement. No child should be pushed or shoved. But the question is whether or not that actually happened. Matt, there's a lot of speculation on that. Shouldn't we just take the Speaker at her word that she was nudging the child so that she wasn't hidden for the photo?
I mean, I've taken a lot of photos. I don't really shove somebody to the outside the photo if I want them to be in the photo. And look, it's on video. I mean, just apologize. She's 12 years old. And look, I think Nancy Pelosi is a little frustrated right now. Maya Flores flipped a Democratic seat, and that's the second most Hispanic seat in the country. And if those seats are in play come the fall, she's poised to lose her speakership.
You know what, David, that's a good point. Maybe a better statement would just be, I'm sorry that it appeared that way. She's a child. I can see how that could have been perceived as a shove. I'm sorry for that. It certainly wasn't. But perhaps the messaging here she's not getting right.
Nancy Pelosi is a pro and has taken that photo op over 1,000 times. So I take her at her word, and I think we all should, that she was just putting that child into a better position to take that photograph. And if we watch the full video, you see that Speaker Pelosi is extremely gracious and kind to the entire family and those children, welcoming them to the House of Representatives.
All right. Well, we hope it was the best case scenario. We certainly do. We don't know, but we hope so. The vice president serving up some more of her specialty. Word salad. Here's part of her response to a question on the White House's next steps after the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade.
I thought about it as, a parent. We have 2 children who are in their 20s, a son and a daughter. I thought about it as a godparent of teenagers. I thought of it as an aunt of preschool children.
And a woman yourself.
And a woman myself. And the daughter of a woman. And a granddaughter of a woman.
Critics roasting the VP given the unwillingness of some progressives to define or even say the word woman. A couple tweets, I'm pretty sure she's not a biologist. And so now everyone knows what a woman is. Got it. All right. Reaction from both of you. David, you first.
Our vice president is working hard to make sure that she's meeting the challenge of today. This has been put on us, the decision by the Supreme Court to strip away the rights of women to make choices about their reproductive health. Vice President Harris, a former attorney general, I think is being judicial in her words, but needs to put all options on the table. And I think that's what we're going to see in the coming days and weeks.
All right, Matt.
I just want to congratulate all the Democrats who got their biology degree just after this abortion ruling. Congratulations. Really wonderful.
All right. I appreciate both of you joining us on all 3 of those topics. We got them in. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.